Quiet Place was one of those movies that I learned about because of how many people were just talking about it. It was a new terrifying new horror movie that I heard that managed to prime one of our major senses. So when I went to see A Quiet Place for the first time, I was so ready to be scared and have an incredible horror experience, but apparently everyone who watched this were a bunch of babies. It wasn't even that scary. There's like this Demogorgon looking thing here, but that wasn't that scary. So I kind of ended up disappointed. I wanted to be scared out of my mind, I just wasn't. But that's because I had the completely wrong mindset going into this movie. This was a family drama propelled by the psychological tension of not being able to use noise. This movie works as a tense, anxiety-inducing movie while being extremely effective, and was incredibly crafted with so much care and thought put into the story in this world. Like scenes like the Monopoly scene just show how much care went into making sure that everything here kind of makes sense. There's so much effort and thought that went into this story and it really shines through. That said, though, the main thing I thought A Quiet Place failed at was horror. The main reason I went was the main thing that it kind of under-delivered on. I think the problem I had with the original was just how predictable it was. I guess nearly every jump scare in the movie didn't take too many risks, so it felt very safe. But being safe isn't a problem, but when I know what's going to happen in a horror movie, the whole experience gets way less scary. You can give Shyamalan all the crap you want. I mean, he deserves it for things like The Last Airbender.
What is that?
But in his best work, The Sixth Sense, you probably had no clue how it was going to end unless you got it spoiled, and that made it all the more scarier because you didn't know what was going to happen to that kid. Horror is the fear of the unknown, and when you know what's going to happen, it just gets way less scary overall. Other than that though, I really liked the first Quiet Place. It would probably get like a 7 or an 8 out of 10 from me because it had such great characters. The atmosphere and tension were really good, and I liked the world they built, but that lack of true fear kind of held it back from being a truly incredible movie in my eyes. So I liked it. I thought it was a good movie, but when I heard a sequel was coming, my first thought was, where were they going to go after that ending? I mean, that ending was so good. Why did we need a sequel? This just felt so cheap and lazy and such a cash grab, so I wasn't that excited. It just looked so bland. I mean, look at the differences in the posters. The first one is so creepy and claustrophobic and like you just can't leave, and the second poster, oh, they're just standing in a field. You know, behind killer clowns and creepy dolls, I always had giant fields as one of my top 3 scary things. I mean, this movie just had all the signs that it could be a bad, bland sequel that the studio just wanted to shoot out to get a few bucks. But guys, I'm a dumb dino, because what was I thinking? A Quiet Place 2 is one of the most effective anxiety experiences with a fantastic plot, great characters, and an incredible experience that you have to see in theaters. Now, I did say after my Godzilla vs. Kong review that there were a few movies that would have a chance to dethrone it for my movie of the year, and I hate to say it because I love Godzilla vs. Kong, but I'm gonna have to knock it off its pedestal. A Quiet Place 2 is that good. Now, first thing A Quiet Place 2 had to nail was the narrative, since where do you go after that ending? This sequel has to feel earned, but apparently there was a lot more of this story that needed to be told, and it really justified there being a sequel. I knew literally nothing going into this story, and that really helped me, so the synopsis I'm gonna give for you guys is it's a family trying not to die from monsters who hunt by sound. And you might be saying, hey, wasn't that the plot of the first one? And it's not the same. It's just I had to give out synopsis because I don't want to spoil anything for you guys, but this movie has a much better narrative structure here because I actually think there are a lot more goals in this movie. Now, the first movie had one goal, and that was just to survive, which is fine, but this one is so much more interesting due to an increased feeling and urgency and just leading the whole narrative being incredible because we have to keep going. The urgency really propels this story forward, since instead of just the threat of the monsters being able to kill you, there's also the threat of not being able to accomplish what they set out to do in a certain amount of time. Also, there are more threats that are thrown into the mix here, which makes the whole movie feel way more intense because there are a lot more factors that could really end up with you being dead. This really propels the story forward, since instead of just the threat of monsters killing you, there's also the threat of not being able to accomplish what you want, other factors that I don't want to spoil, and this just applies to everything here. Now, there are 2 main plots here, and one of the narratives I thought was way more interesting, and the other was a bit weaker, but I still thought it was great, and they both had fantastic tension with all those different factors. Along with the narrative, another fantastic thing this movie absolutely nails is the world building. The movie here is so interesting, and the places we get to visit are so different and so unique, and this world is just incredible. The first movie felt like we were part of this incredible world, but we were really scoped in on one spot, and we were kind of missing out on the rest of the world. Here with a bigger budget, we really get to explore and see more of this world. And the way the world is captured is beautiful. The cinematography is fantastic. I mean, this movie truly looks beautiful, and the color correction is amazing, especially towards the end of the movie. This all leads to the world building just being stronger because we get to see such a strong vision of what this world is set out to be. That said though, as much as I am praising the cinematography and how the movie was captured, there's a unique problem with the visual storytelling. I don't think this movie communicates visual information as well as the first. There were times I thought a character was going to do something and then they just didn't do it. It was harder to understand the character's motivations based off visual cues. It was kind of weird and I don't know how they could have done this better. It was just a criticism I had and I don't know if other people had it. And while that's not as good as the original, there was a huge improvement over the original when it came to pacing. This movie moves at a fantastic pace. There is no fat. It feels like everything that is in here is crucial. There is not a moment that is not being used to make the movie better. I was shocked at how they were able to cram so much information in a movie that is only an hour and 40 minutes. Another thing that really helps the pacing is the editing. The way that things line up in this movie is incredible. It makes scenes so much more impactful. The way that they are able to orchestrate tension with the editing and how the movie ramps up slowly but surely by pacing really needs to be recognized with how tightly this movie is put together because there is no fat here. I just really want to give props to the writing and the editors here because they did a great job of getting this movie to be paced and edited to an incredibly tight and concise film. And these individual scenes that come together in this incredibly concise film stand out just as way better and much more expertly crafted than the first one. John Krasinski does a fantastic job here with how he's able to build a scene. The way the camera moves is fantastic, and it feels like every movement of the camera and how the actors move was precise and intentional. He also directs the action here just as well as he directs and paces the horror, and we really get to see how John Krasinski was really able to go bigger and better with this story and not crumble under the bigger story that he has written. Everything here flows together so well, and it feels like it was crafted with just so much care. I think John Krasinski right now deserves all the praise in the world as a director due to how he's able to craft this movie, but also how he gets these fantastic performances from these actors. These actors all do a great job and all give great performances. These child or teenage actors are great, and I think they do a really great job and really sell how real this world feels. Also, we get another great performance from Emily Blunt, and to me though, the standout though was Cillian Murphy's performance. Cillian Murphy is an actor I've always thought was great, especially in some of his roles, especially like Inception. I mean, if you don't feel any emotions in the vault scene in Inception, well, congratulations, because you're dead. But seriously, Cillian Murphy gives such a great performance here, and his character is so interesting and different and just so complex. He's just great here, and he is so good. I loved his character. Everyone else here really, though, gave a great performance, and there isn't a bad performance in here. They're all very good, especially the kids getting more development. Emily's Blunt still was awesome, being the cool shotgun-wielding mom as well. Quiet Place 2 just reminds me why I love movies. What could have been a bland sequel of No Heart managed to be a fantastic exploration of this incredible world with these incredible characters of a larger story, a more fleshed out world along with a fantastic pace with no fluff in it. Everything here has so much care put into it, and it reminds me how good movies can be when love and care and thought is put into them throughout the entire process. All the hard work and delay that went into this movie was worth it here. I am so glad that I was able to see this in a theater because this is a must-see movie in theaters. I don't think it would have had the same impact if I saw it for the first time on Amazon or something. If you love movies that are smart, deep, and expertly crafted, then you must go see this, as it is the perfect movie to return to theaters for. I'm going to say that A Quiet Place Part 2 is awesome. But what were your thoughts on A Quiet Place Part 2? Did you enjoy it? Leave your thoughts down below in the comments section, and try not to spoil anything because this is a spoiler-free review. Anyways, would you guys want me to do a review of the original Quiet Place? Let me know down below. Anyways, when my next video comes out, I'll see you then. Bye.